Hi, I'm going to talk to you about using games in your online ESL or EFL classes. Right now, we've been doing online learning enough that you probably need something to help motivate your students, get them involved in your class, and get them engaged. Games are a really good way to do that. But before we start, I'd like to talk about the difference between gamification and games-based learning. These are two terms that people kind of toss around a lot, and generally they mean one thing or the other, and it's good to agree on which one you're talking about so you can look up the right resources and find the right information. So we'll talk about what exactly we are doing and what are our goals and methods. So the short answer to that is that gamification is turning the whole learning process into a game, while games-based learning is using a game as part of the learning process. In the universe of games, the big umbrella is games. There's games-based learning and there's gamification. Games-based learning, we use games as educational tools, and they can be slotted into an existing program. This is what we're familiar with. Gamification is a much bigger process and a much bigger tidal change to the idea of education than games-based learning. It turns the whole education process into a game, or whatever process you're looking at. It doesn't have to be education, and the game is the whole pedagogy. So that's clearly a more radical step. So looking at games. Games are fun, they're engaging, they have clear goals, they're rule and sequence based, they provide social motivation through competition, and they provide feedback through outcomes, wins, losses, getting points. All these elements make games a good way to teach and learn because they keep people motivated, engaged, and attentive. Those are all things we want our students to be. With gamification, it turns the whole process into a game, however. You're adding game elements to the whole system. It's incorporating typical game elements that you're familiar with, like timers, points, teams, levels, tokens, leaderboards, progress bars, badges, into the whole system of the class, not just into tasks. Gamification is a big picture scenario, and while some online courses are gamified, this is most often seen in online marketing and social media. That's where it was really pioneered. With gamification, the game is the pedagogy. So to help you understand that better, here are some examples. Fitness apps use this, lots of learning apps use this, social media apps use this. They turn a scenario that's not normally a game or pleasure, so exercising or eating healthy or learning a language, learning how to code, learning music, social media things like commenting on Reddit or connecting with colleagues on LinkedIn. They take these and turn them into rewards-based social and personal competition with fun and achievements built in. So that makes the whole scenario addictive to the user. That's why it's used a lot in advertising and commercial online endeavors. They want to make sure that you're hooked into this whole system and you keep coming back. They want you to keep your eyes on this app. If gamification is not realistic in your context, it's not realistic in mine, games-based learning is. I can't take my whole course and turn it into a big gamified thing where I'm not giving grades. I'm instead letting students level up in a point system with a leaderboard. I have some external tests that I need to think about. So with that in mind, games-based learning works well for me. It's an achievable way to increase motivation, attention, and engagement in course activities without redesigning my entire pedagogy. So with games-based learning, it uses games designed with educational goals. It teaches new concepts or allows practice of them. It balances game playing with learning objectives. And most educational activity websites have game features that fall into this category. Games-based learning is not a complete pedagogical approach. It's aimed at teaching specific outcomes within the framework you already have. And these games can be slotted into your existing courses. So here are some game elements that we can use in our classroom in all kinds of ways, not specifically with websites or apps. Teams are useful because they build social relationships and communication. It's good for achievement because it provides elements of positive peer pressure and accountability. We can use competition because it leads to increased engagement and higher performance levels. It drives a faster pace of work and motivation to work at higher levels of quality and quantity. If you've ever seen students really push themselves to beat someone else's high score at something, you can understand that. Interactivity we can also use. It pushes all individual students to work rather than relying on a few stronger students. This increases accountability and engagement. We want to make sure that students give some input and get some feedback on basically everything that they do to make them continue to pay attention. So here are some easy ways that we can use these. With teams, you can set up class teams, 2s and 3s, or larger groups, or a system of both, and use them for homework or attendance accountability, make sure they're checking on each other. You can have them be activity groups for doing writing, for doing listening, for doing speaking, and for tech support. They can help each other out when they have questions. Students rely on these teams for social and academic help. Competition we can use just in anything we're doing in the classroom or online by using timers, points, leaderboards, and levels, and these can help build a sense of competition even into a fairly boring activity. Have students go do X for 2 minutes and then take a screenshot of their score or their progress, post it to Classroom or WhatsApp, and everyone can see how they're doing, and it provides a place for them to see how others are doing in comparison with themselves. Interactivity, we just want to have students respond to things and get some feedback. So just having students all respond in the Meet chat box or WhatsApp or Classroom when you ask a question is step forward in getting some interactivity from them. So you can ask a question, let everybody type out their answers, give them a minute to do that, and then tell them when to hit the send button so everyone's answer comes through at the same time. That will prevent everyone from copying the first response, which is, I find, what often happens when you ask students to all contribute to something. So here are some online game tools we can use if we want to take it another step from there. These game tools are things that are designed to work this sort of way in the classroom or online teaching. They usually work with both, but they're set up to work as games-based for you. So Quizlet, I'm going to talk about first. Quizlet's primarily a vocab tool. It works with grammar and content as well. With Quizlet, you can build up vocab lists. Students join your class and they learn their vocab there. There is a game called Match that's a fun game, but the other tools work in a competitive way as well, or you can make them work that way. Kahoot is another quiz game. Students compete with each other, or you can set up teams. They get a question that you've designed, and there's a fun song and a countdown timer, and they have to hit the right answer. And with that, it motivates them to work quickly and also to pay close attention. Socrative is a quiz-based tool, and it's got a game tool built into it. So it's primarily for quizzes, and it's a good tool for that. But there's one feature called Space Race that works as a competition where the students basically are just in taking a quiz, but they're competing to see who can finish fastest with the best score. And there are little rockets that fly across the screen, and that is engaging to them. Jeopardy Labs is a website that allows you to build Jeopardy-style game show quizzes, or you can find pre-made ones. It sets up everything for you, so you just put all the questions and answers in and count points when students get things correct. Nearpod is a content delivery tool, basically. It's an activity-based site where you build in slides with activities and students are interacting with them. That's all great for interactivity. It has one feature, though, that's good for games, and that is called Time to Climb. Class Dojo is not exactly a game tool as much as a little step forward in gamifying your class. So it's taking your class list, all the students are assigned little cute avatars, and you can assign them positive points or negative taking away points for positive or negative activities that you want to reinforce in your class. So it's not actually a game, it's just a system for keeping track of points. There are a lot of other features as well, but that's the one that has to do with gamification. And then I've got a few miscellaneous websites here that have quite a lot of ESL and learning English sort of games on them. Games to Learn English, ESL Games Plus, and ESL Kids Games. They're sort of kiddie looking for sure. They're, my students are all 18 years old, but they still do like these. Their games are always fun for everyone. So even though their graphics are very kid oriented, they're still enjoyable. So let's take a look at Quizlet first. I'm going to walk you through those tools. With Quizlet, as you can see on the left, in the interface, in each unit of words, you've got flashcards. There's a feature called Learn, where it gives various quizzing mechanisms to get you to learn the words. Write, you listen to something and you write what you hear. And then a test is sort of a final test on the unit. Match is the one that's a game, though. When you click Match, it opens this picture that you see in the middle. It's a matching game where you match the word and the definition. And then there's a timer going that whole time. At the end, it tells you how you've done. It keeps a record with a little leaderboard, and students really love to try and beat the teacher. As you can see on this, my top score is number 9. That means I've been beat by 8 students. They are highly motivated to keep playing until they can beat you. The next tool here, Kahoot. With Kahoot, there's a new feature on it. As a teacher, you can assign this asynchronously, so students can do it when they want to. They don't have to be looking at something on your board to be working on it, which is good for connectivity problems or for students who have only one screen, if they're only looking at their phone, not a computer and a phone. So they see the question right on the slide. It plays a cute song. It's got a little countdown timer. They get more points for answering faster and correctly. It tells you how you're doing. It tells you you've got an answer streak going if you're getting a bunch in a row. You're competing against your classmates. It's got a little leaderboard, and then at the end, it's got a little podium that tells you who the winners are. Socrative is this quiz-based website, and this is Space Race, what it looks like. On the left are these student views of what the questions look like. You can see what team you're on. You've got your question. It's just a multiple choice feature. You answer, it tells you if it's right or wrong. On the teacher screen, you can see all the little rockets racing across. You get points for getting it right, and then you can see who's ahead by answering fastest. And at the bottom, you can see the teacher reports. The teacher can see how each individual student has done. Jeopardy Labs looks like this. On the left is the interface that you've got when you start the game. You can see all the values there. The team that's competing just chooses which one they want to go for. That opens up a question. And the question, if the team gets it right, you just click the little plus button at the bottom for points, so it keeps track of all the points for you. It's quite easy. And then back to the main screen for the next round. In your pod is this content delivery tool, but this is the climb the mountain feature within it. So you've got your quiz built in with questions, as you can see on the top left. And questions on the left, it shows you a little mountain on the right. Everyone's marching up the mountain, trying to win. There's a little leaderboard you can see in the center. Everybody's got their points and you can see their progress. And then at the bottom right, you can see a little podium and you can see who in the class wins. Class Dojo, this is again the one that's more like gamification of your class, but not a game in itself. On the left, you can see the class list, all the students in there with their plus points and minus points. In the app, you can give positive points or take points away. You can customize those for your class. So some of these look very kiddie oriented, but you can make ones that are more appropriate for your age group of students and the particular types of behavior you want to enforce. So you can give points for example, logging in on time to your online classes or doing your homework. And then finally, these miscellaneous websites, the ESL Kids Games, Games to Learn English, ESL Games Plus, they're little drag and drop things. You can move around game pieces and roll the dice. They're just pretty basic level vocab and grammar type games, but they definitely work to have points and competition and a timer, things like that. And the students can see there's a clear winner and a loser at the end. You have to follow the rules. So those are a bunch of games that work. Each one of those sites has a lot of a big variety of games available on them. Here are some tutorials to help you learn how. I'm showing you the videos, what they look like here in thumbnails, just so you can recognize them when they come up. I've got links in the video description and also at this tinyurl.com/edtechhelpgen. All of those are there available for you with some more tech help as well. These are just to teach you how to actually use these tools. So I'd like to encourage you to use games in your teaching to keep students engaged. It's a great idea. At this point in the semester, we're wanting to get students as engaged as possible so that they can finish out the year successfully.